I had trouble with the ideas because, like, what can you say, like, I don't know, for personal statements, like, everyone's like, oh, my grandma died of cancer, and, like,
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you
like,
mean.
I want something to stand out. So,
Okay.
this is kind of like a really, really, really rough draft, just, like, to get my ideas, like, on paper. But I kind of don't know, like, at the end what to add, and how to connect it back to the prompt. And then, like, I was also, like, having trouble with, like, just, like, the fluidity of it and, like, the structure
Sure.
of the sentence.
And then so right now you just kind of have like a whole chunk of it. You haven't divided it.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure. And have you been to Sweetland before?
No, it's my first time.
Oh, okay. So usually what we like to do is have the writers read their own writing out loud, because that way you get to kind of like hear how it sounds, and you kind of catch what you would usually miss when your eyes just like glance over everything. But if you don't feel like it, or if you're uncomfortable, I can do it, and then you can just like stop me anytime. It's just whatever is comfortable with you.
I can read it out loud. Okay.
Thanks.
So I put as my first sentence, the first time I knew I wanted to attend medical school was when my mother and I were at the local bookstore, and I noticed a Harvard Family Medicine information book. After convincing my mother to buy it for me, I dedicated myself to reading every detail in it. My mother, astonished to observe a young child invested in the study of physiology and epidemiology, would joke and say, most children carry a diary or toy with them, but Rose carries a 3-pound textbook with her. In all honesty, my family is what drove my passion for medicine. My grandparents came to the United States in the 80s without any savings, education, or even the ability to speak English. My grandmother, Rose, was from a small village in Lebanon and didn't attend school because she was a woman, so she could neither write nor read in her native language, making her dream of attending a university impossible. After coming to the country, my grandfather got ill, and my father, who was the second eldest, had to drop out of college so that he could provide for his 6 younger siblings. My father was the valedictorian of his high school and college class in Lebanon, also excelling when he enrolled here in the States, and dreamt of becoming an engineer. However, he couldn't accomplish his goal due to unforeseen circumstances. I have come from generations of family who could not accomplish their goals because of mishaps and distinct bad luck. I want to be the person in my family who goes against the stride and achieves the goal that I have desired. My family has supported and guided me so that I can succeed and attain the goals I pursue. I'm a strong-willed, determined individual because of the sacrifices my family has made for me. I was always interested in the health sciences, and I knew I wanted to pursue a career in medicine. But what made my decision certain was when my grandmother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and passed away after a 4-year fight. Seeing my grandmother struggle with her cancer when I fully invested myself in researching the health sciences. My grandmother, the woman who raised me, was the one that continuously encouraged me to follow my dreams and taught me the importance of education and opportunity. There were moments during her sickness where she would have me read to her or explain to her what was going on with her body because she didn't have any science background so that she could understand. She would stress and advise me to never make the same mistakes as she did and to pursue an education because she felt that it was the most important contributor to success. After spending so much time with my grandmother, I began to understand what cancer really was. I would spend days reading journals about it so that I can understand how and why the disease occurs. This is the moment in which I had gone from saying I wanted to be a physician because of the prestige, to add something there, from actually wanting it because I was fascinated with it. And I just stopped writing it.
Okay.
So, like, I put my ideas on the paper, but, like, obviously it's, like, a very, very rough draft, and, like, I can never submit it like this. And then, like, one of my friends suggested me coming here. He's like, if you're having trouble, like, writing your personal statement, like, go to, like, the writing center. They would help out, like, and be honest about, like, what you should add, what you should take out, and, like, the fluidity and structure of it.
Okay. Thanks for reading it. I think I just want to start by saying, I think that's a really good start, especially since you mentioned how you were concerned with, like, does it make you stand out and everything. I like how it's very personal, and I like how it's very honest rather than saying, like, I want to become a doctor to change the world. I mean, that sounds good on paper, but then at the same time, like, so many other people could say that. Yeah. So I think one thing that you definitely got right is, like, how personal it was and how unique it is to you. Okay, so I think just first impressions. Well, first, do you have any questions?
Okay, so, I mean, there's, like, obviously questions within it, like, I remember showing it to one of, like, I was reading it out loud to one of my friends, and I told him, like, obviously I'm not submitting like this, it's just, like, literally a rough draft. But he's like, the first like 2 sentences right here, like they don't sound professional. And like that was my whole issue. It's like, I don't want to come off like I know I have to make it personal, but then when does it cross the line between too personal and like professional?
Okay. Then yeah, starting from the beginning, I actually like how you started it because I felt like
It's different.
it's different. It's not like very. It's not okay. A plus side is it's not formulaic, which is good. But I think when it comes to like sounding professional, I feel like all you have to do is just kind of add on to that and have it serve as an introduction. So usually in personal statement, you want to have like an intro, kind of just introducing yourself a little bit, and then like middle paragraphs would be like your goals and aspirations, and or like the reasons of why you want to be a doctor, or what have your experiences and yada yada, and then you end with like a conclusive paragraph. Yeah, you don't have to follow that exactly, but that's usually how it goes. And
can I get a piece of paper?
yeah, of course.
Oh, I have my notebook.
Okay, sure. Do you want a pen or something?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. So with like when you said, so like a kind of like a 3-body paragraph.
Yeah, kind of like that idea.
So like the introduction, what would you like? How would you put that? Like, would you like just like say your name, like that kind of stuff?
So I think you can definitely start with how you have it right now, like the first time I wanted to attend medical school, and then go on. But then instead of continuing to, I think before, in all honesty, that's where you can, before that, following your mother joking could be just kind of more of you stating more explicitly, I want, like, more especially your goals, or more like a statement of some sort.
Okay.
Do you want? Is that clear? Do you know?
So
what I mean?
like insert a statement of like.
This is where you can make it sound more professional, more like concise, more put together.
Like a kind of like a thesis.
Yeah.
Like statement.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember this from like AP Wing, like the three, like you mentioned like what you're gonna talk about in like the next coming paragraph. Would you do that in like a personal statement?
Yeah, I think it will help in the personal statement because they have the people reading it are gonna have so many statements to go over. I don't think they're gonna spend so much time on one. So you always want to make sure that your main ideas are really clear. Like why you want to go to medical school is really clear. So I think that's why I would suggest putting like a thesis, a sort of thesis statement at the end of your first.
So like something like, I want to go to med school because my family has made so many sacrifices, like something like that. My family's made so many sacrifices for me. I've come from like a disadvantaged family.
Something along that line. Something that, because you worry about how it doesn't sound professional, right? Mm-hmm. So I think a good mix of professional and personal will be good. And then since you already have the personal, something more professional.
And the introduction
could be good. Yeah.
So insert like a professional thesis statement. Okay.
Speaking as someone who.
Okay, and then so you said the body would be more of like the argument.
Yeah.
Of why.
I think in your personal statement you usually want to talk about like why you want to become a doctor, so your goals and aspirations, and also kind of talking about how has like your past experiences led you to those goals and aspirations, and those could be like you shadowing a doctor, it could be like your trip to somewhere, or your some life experience that can prove to the people reading it that you either have an aptitude for this, or something convinced you to do this.
Okay, so in mine, where I talked about like my family like kind of history, like do you think that is a good reason to like? I mean, obviously it's the reason why I wanted to become a doctor, because like I just come from a family that like was never able to like achieve their goals because of like just like bad luck. And then like I put that part, but then I also put like how my grandma had cancer, and that's what like like, I was trying to get this point across, like my strong-willed, like, for like the strong-willed person I am today, that I strive for anything I want, came from like the fact that my family couldn't get what they want. But then the fact that I want to be a doctor came from when my grandma was like diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and that's when like I researched it and got really like kind of hooked onto it.
Okay.
But I just don't know how to connect those two. You know what I mean? I don't know how to make it clear that like this part is for, you know, me being such a like driven person and achieving whatever I want. And then this part, the grandma part, is the part where that drivenness led to me wanting to be into medicine, go into medicine.
Okay. Then it sounds like those are
like they're connected, but I just don't know how to connect them.
okay.
So I guess like it'd be. See, I put right here. It's like I was always interested in the health sciences, and I knew I wanted to pursue a career in medicine. But what made my decision certain was when my grandmother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Right. That sounds like another paragraph.
Okay. So should I separate it right there?
Yeah. And if you don't want it, to be another paragraph, you can always like come back and change it. Yeah. But right now, I think it's better to start with some sort of structure. And as for you making it clear, and from reading it, I don't think it's like unclear or anything. I think you're already at a very good start. And I think just starting with the beginning, I think it's good that you provided so much personal story, but at the same time, because it is a personal statement that's about you, I would suggest like instead of kind of writing it like a story about your grandparents, can you write in a way that talks about you more? Because they're reading this personal statement to see why they should admit like you, right? So you don't want to spend the majority talking about
them.
Yeah, but I don't think that you have to just necessarily like mix all of that. But maybe we can change it in a way so that it reflects more about you rather than more about like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, that's like where like the part where I was like worried about the professionalism, because it's like, oh shoot, like it's my personal statement. Like I can't just like keep talking about like my family history, but at the same time, it's like it's hard to like admit stuff, because like, but wait, I have to edit this. Like, you know, it's like hard to actually admit it yourself. Because like you don't know what is important. Like you think everything's important, like regardless. So you don't know what to like delete.
Yeah. So then I think going through it, I think you can condense the backstory into a couple sentences, and then have the rest be about your reaction to it, which is what you talked to me earlier about, how it made you so strong-willed, how it made you so driven. But then I don't want to cut anything that you feel like it's really important. So then
no, I mean, I'm like open to anything, honestly, because
in this paragraph you established that
I think the details about like the bad luck of the quote-unquote bad luck of your family could be less explicit. Instead, you could kind of just say in a few words like, oh, your family has always struggled.
You're demonstrating a need for people like you who can understand.
And yeah, do you see what I mean? Because here you talk about your grandfather, and here you talk about your father, but is there a way that you can combine both of those into just a more concise sentence?
My grandmother part and my father part?
Yeah. Like instead of listing out every single struggle that they have, can you say it in a way that it's more concise? And then, or
you're staying kind of focused on two of them, which is good. You know, you don't want to be too broad.
Maybe I can delete this sentence right here. Like, my father is a valedictorian of his high school and college class, also excelling in here in the States, and jumped up being an engineer. Probably had to drop out of college. Like, I can put, like, he was pursuing engineering in here, and then just delete this entire sentence, and just put, like, however he couldn't accomplish his goal due to unforeseen circumstances.
If you were to give this
I can, like, highlight this so, like, I don't delete it, but
This has,
Yeah.
this is more of a content.
Okay, sorry. Let me
Clinical
read it.
experiences under doctor.
Like, do you see when like this whole chunk is something that is you can use to talk about yourself, like your characteristics, your everything like that. What if?
Should I like?
Yeah,
is this
it's good that you
necessary?
have all
Like,
those
do you? I mean, do you think
I
this
think
is a
you
good thing
just
to
need-
add? Like that my grandma didn't. I mean, the only reason that I included my grandmother
distinctly separate.
was because like it kind of relates to when she got cancer, and like when I said the great hero, when I was trying to say here at least that like she couldn't understand like what the doctors would even tell her when she got cancer because she didn't like just have the intelligence because she never went to school
Oh.
because like she never knew how to speak English.
Okay, that could be important if you can make it. So how does that affect you? How did that make you want to be a certain kind of physician, or how did that push you in a certain way? So it all depends on how you like spin it.
Yeah, so like I was trying to spin it on like because of that, like I was with my grandma, like helping her understand like what her disease was, and that's when like my passion for like wanting to be a physician like kind of when that's when it happened, like because I'd read about it and like that's when like it kind of just interested me.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. I think that's good.
Okay, it's just like connecting it. It was like it's like the difficulty.
Right.
That's why I definitely see the revisions in that aspect. It is very different.
Like I was trying to say it here, but I didn't finish because I had airback homework. I was spending days reading journals about it so that I could understand how my disease occurs. Like this is the moment in which I'd gone from saying I wanted to be a physician because of the prestige from actually wanting it, but like obviously that wording is like horrible.
I began to understand what cancer really was. I would spend days reading journals about it so that I could understand how and why the disease occurs. That was the moment in which I had gone from saying because of the prestige
So maybe you should openly admit how insignificant
to actually wanting it because I was fascinated with the subject itself.
Yeah.
Something along that. So
Change from
yeah.
to actually wanting it because I was fascinated with the subject itself.
Yeah, something along that line, and you can tweak it however you want. That was the moment in which I had gone from saying I wanted to be a physician because of the prestige to actually wanting it because and I think it would be good if you go on to explain how the act of being so immersed with this, so intent on it, how has that pushed you to want to pursue medical school?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would do that. Then like the only thing like I was planning like to like kind of go along that line.
Yeah.
And like explaining like why like really connected to why I want it.
Yeah.
But then again like the character limitation.
Oh yeah, so that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
That's where we had to like cut down some stuff. Okay, before we do that, also another thing I feel like you should probably add in your personal statement is like, are there any other experiences, like hands-on experiences that you have experienced either in hospitals or like trips or classes, things like that?
So
those could be really useful too.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot. It's just if I was like worried about like, is it all gonna fit? And like, but okay, so I volunteered in the hospitals at DMC, Michigan. I went on to a medical mission trip to Mexico. I work in urgent care. I've shadowed doctors. What else have I done? Yeah.
Okay.
And I did research for cancer.
Okay.
Or whatever you
Okay,
think
and
is
that sounds like a lot. And then,
yeah. By,
if you want to write about all of that, in that case, I would even suggest like combining these two and making it into one paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard though.
Yeah, it is. But so these two are actually really related to one another, especially the part about your grandmother. But what do you think about that? Do you?
No, yeah, I definitely agree because I knew like I kind of knew I went off on this, and like the only reason I didn't go off like on like my actual like stuff that I've done to want me to go medicine is because like, you know, maybe everyone's gonna have that, like everyone has a study abroad trip, a medical mission trip, everyone
Right.
volunteers in hospitals,
Yeah.
everyone shadows doctors. It's like I really want to like stand out, but like I definitely agree that like I should include some of it in my personal statement.
Yeah. Or another way, if you're afraid of that, because yeah, like you said, everyone's always gonna have pretty similar experiences. So they're always looking for something that like puts what makes you unique from them. I feel like a way you can do that is also connecting it back to your grandmother. You know, you don't.
Well, I did do ovarian cancer research.
Okay.
So, and like she had ovarian cancer. That's why like I chose the project because I was just like really touched by it, and like I knew like I would actually be interested in it if I did like choose that project.
Yeah. So do you know? So do you want to mean like instead of having like all these different paragraphs talking about your different experiences, what if you talk about your experience in researching with ovarian cancer here, and then at the very after that explain like why you're so focused on it, and then tying it to that's what made you also want to pursue like medical school, pursue being a physician and stuff like that.
So, and like in the middle of this paragraph, explain like I did research.
Yeah.
Like research on ovarian cancer. And then connect it to like why like I did it, and like to my grandma.
Yeah. So first you would like want to kind of talk about like what it
What I was going to ask you about. So, use the
your
phrase,
your takeaway from it, and then that's when and then you connect it to, so that's the professional part, and then you connect it to the personal part, which is like
it's perfectly fine.
you know, your experience with your grandmother, and then how it has made you really wanted to understand what this disease really is, and
But it's even
why
better
that made you want
if
to
you
go to
can show
medical school.
Okay, so like, do you have any advice on like, because this is when I was like scared to include any like my activities. It's like, what do I include? Like, I don't want it to sound like a resume. I don't want it to sound like my research. Like, do I have to be specific with what I researched?
Okay. I don't think you have to be too specific about it. I would say you don't have to do more than like 1 or 2 sentences talking about it. But I would say definitely talk more about your personal takeaway. Talk about your how has it affected you? What's your takeaway on it? Because if I'm not wrong about it, I think with medical school application, you're gonna have like another page where you get to list out all your like accomplishments and experiences, right? So you don't want to like spend time talking about that. But then, since everyone's going to have like really similar experiences, what will set you apart
Is the personal part.
is the way that you responded to these experiences, your takeaway, how it pushed you, how it affected you, and all that. So I would spend more words on those things, rather than like description.
Okay, so like don't like I worked on these kinds of cells, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
nothing like
yeah.
that. Just say like I worked in ovarian cancer like research lab and
Yeah.
like
I think like a couple sentences is fine.
okay. And just like basically like the overall goal of the project.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, I mean, obviously I'd have to like condense these two paragraphs.
Right.
And then like, what do you suggest like after like this chunk? And like this part, I also would have to add. You said like the takeaway of what pushed me.
Those are just like examples. So things that you could talk about is like how did it push you, how did it change your perspective, how did it like affirm something you believed in, how did it like reveal a character about yourself that you didn't know you had before, or how did it like push you towards this aspiration or that.
So insert there, and like condense this.
Right, yeah.
And like, okay, so after that, do you think I'd have any more room to like put something else, or would you insert anything else after that?
I think I would definitely
Something that's up to your own discretion. I would agree with you.
I would kind of use the last paragraph as like a concluding paragraph, and then in that part be more specific about what it is that you want to do, because I don't think it's enough to just say, oh, I want to be a doctor, but I think it really helps to set you apart when you say, I want to be a doctor who's specializes in this, or I want to work in this area. So some people came in talking about how they want to like use healthcare as like a platform for social change. Some people came in talking about how they want to improve like hospital procedures and cares in general. Some people talk about how they want to go overseas. So yeah, each person all have their little area. So then what is your
For me,
area?
I actually want to be a pediatric oncologist.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then
So
yeah,
I was like planning to like throw it in there, just didn't know how. Cause like also on my resume, there's like besides like the medical field, like every other job or like volunteering is something to do with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like even some of my medical, like volunteering like at the children's hospitals.
yeah.
So I don't know if I should include that like in the last like my love for working with kids, and then like the passion I had for like cancer, since like my grandmother had it and I worked in the cancer lab, and like just all my experiences with it, and then that's why I want to become like a pediatric oncologist.
I think you should definitely include that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like even the part with like I've worked with so many like kids, like I worked in so many different like areas like with kids that like it kind of, that's why I'm becoming a pediatric oncologist.
Well, is
I think it's a
there
necessity.
is there a reason why you don't want to?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know, because I feel like it's like a little. If I saw that, I'd be like, oh, it's kind of a little off topic. I don't know, because like it's like, why do you want to get into med school? It's, oh, I love working with kids. Like I don't know. Maybe it's like I love working with kids. That's why I want to be a pediatric oncologist.
Yeah, I don't think it's irrelevant, and I think it's important to set yourself apart as much as possible. Yeah, I think it's always more important to be like specific rather than really broad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
And then like if I do that, so what should I like bring in like specific experiences that I've had with working with kids?
Well, did those specific experiences like change you or push you in some way, or it all depends. Like it all depends on what perspective you want to write down. You want them to know. So I think if you do, I honestly think you should put in the experiences that affected you the most in there. So if working with kids is what meant the most to you, then you should put it in
like
there.
just like one experience, like because I have a bunch. Like I worked I volunteered in a special education classroom, high school classroom for 2 years. I mean, working with the kids at the hospital, even like the Mexico medical mission trip. Like it was kind of kid based.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd work with a lot of kids.
Well, among those, is there any one experience that stands out, or is there an instance where it made you realize something, or made you more aware of like what you want to do in the future, or like the aha moment that's like, oh, this is what I want to do?
That's the thing. It's like they all kind of made me realize I want to work with kids, because like then I had like a summer program, and then like what else did I do? Oh, I worked at this like nonprofit here in Ann Arbor for like tutoring like little like younger kids. So it's like they all came together to like make me want to like work with kids.
Okay.
So it's like I don't know which one to share with specifically.
Okay. Then I don't necessarily think that you only had to choose one, but there's also like the danger, like what if you write too many down and you had to spend so
much time talking about
yeah.
it.
So, but I like the part where you talk about how all these collective experiences made you realize that you want to work with kids. So I think it's okay if you include like more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's okay if you like talk about like all of them for a little bit. But I think what's more important is in the end the way that you concluded, the way that you say you talk about.
Well, like, should I just like mention them? Because like, I mean, the other like med school app, you know, you can list your activities and like you put why they're meaningful and like what you've done.
Yeah.
So like, should I just list them because they're gonna see that part? Like, if they want more details, they can get it from like the other part of the application.
Yeah. So I wouldn't suggest like listing everything that you did or listing every meaningful moment, but then write something that you wouldn't be able to put on that part. So that part is more professional, right? So this part you would have the chance to be more personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest putting like something more personal, something more like even philosophical, something more
personal. About experiences.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah, more about your perspective rather than like the actual thing that you did.
Mm-hmm. Collective experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the oncology part, I was gonna like, I connect that back to
Right,
the
yeah.
paragraph before. That one's not hard because I already talked about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the collective experiences. I was thinking like just maybe choosing one that like meant the most to me, just so it doesn't make it as hard to like.
Yeah.
Because of like they all are meaningful, and like they all do like kind of connect. Yeah. But I feel like it'd be really hard to like, because I can like literally write a whole page about that. You can't like put that in like a sentence, which like I'd only like have like a sentence or two to like do that. Like in your opinion, out of like everything that like I listed, like which one do you think that would be the best to talk about?
I don't know if I can really give you an answer because I don't know like your own personal experience from those things. I can only like help you like narrow down on one. What do you think? What's the most memorable to you then? Or
with working with kids. Okay, so I am getting one of my letter of recs is from the one I did one of my letter of recs like an activity that I did because I don't want like too much like activity recommendation letters, and I did it from the one that I did the summer program, like the summer mentor leadership. So maybe like I was thinking maybe writing about that one because like I am also getting a letter from the director of the program. So like the people that are looking at my application like, oh, it's on her personal statement and she has a letter of rec from them, like it really like they could see that does mean something to her.
Okay.
Or that really touched her.
Yeah.
You think so? I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe summer stand. Okay. What else?
Okay, now it's kind of
let me just put right here thesis statement.
Yeah, it's taking some shape. It's good.
Should I delete this statement right here? Or do you think it should be a topic, like send a topic statement for the paragraph?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I like that one there. I think that's really unique. But I think stood out to me more is actually the last sentence there, where you talk about I am a strong-willed, determined individual because of the sacrifice my family has made for me. It's not exactly clear why. So I know because you explained like in person to me why that has made you want to go to medical school, but then on paper it's still it's hard to connect your strong-willed, determined individual attitude to you wanting to attend medical school. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so like, should I expand on that and say like how their support has made me a strong-willed, determined individual?
It seems like you're someone on the sidelines. You work in this, you're allowed to speak.
okay, actually, let me rephrase it this way. So, I believe that you are a very strong-willed, determined individual. But then why should I let you into medical school because of that? Why not, why can't you as a strong-willed, determined individual become like a humanitarian or become like a professor, a teacher, or any of those things? Why medical school? And there are going to be so many strong-willed, determined individuals who are going to apply. So why should we omit you?
For me, so I remember I put this because like I said that like these examples gave me the drive, and then like made me the driven person I am, and then actually like experiencing with my grandma, like her going through cancer, was what made me choose to be choose to be a physician.
Okay. I see what you mean.
So like this like the drive,
right?
Like, what made me like what pushed me to like do the hardest. I mean, try the hardest I can.
Yeah.
And then this is where it comes into medicine. But I mean, if it like I understand like your perspective. Like, if someone like I just explained it to you because like with words, like you would understand it. But if someone's like quickly glancing through it, like they could possibly get confused.
Yeah. So maybe what you can do is like include something that connects this paragraph to that paragraph. Something such as like. So this is actually kind of why I thought it could be a good idea to put those two even together, and then later on tie in the research on ovarian cancer. That way you can connect everything together. So it's more like a narrative. What do you think about that?
Oh, to connect it?
Like instead of this part and then the research and then the part about your grandmother, what about this part and then the part about your grandmother and then the research on ovarian cancer?
Yeah.
Okay, because then the first part you can be talking about how you became so strong-willed and determined, and then the second part will be talking about
how I applied that determination in pursuing medicine.
Yeah, and then the third part is like you actually acting it out. Yeah.
Okay. So I should move this.
I think that could be a good idea.
So make this like one paragraph.
Yeah.
Okay. And then here.
Implying that the technology might or
Do-
not necessarily become
So this is the applicable part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I spelled that right.
Yeah.
And this part connecting by showing how my determination led me to pursue a career in medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be like the why medicine part. So the first part could be like the why you, second part would be like the why medicine, and the third part is you showing like all those things combined.
Okay. Okay, and then so you don't think I should add my like medical mission trip?
Do you want to add your medical mission trip? It's up to you.
Oh, I know, but it's like I would love to add everything, but like like I can't.
Yeah. So, because if you're already gonna spend like a paragraph talking about like your family background, and another one about your research experience, and another one about your the summer stand part,
Yeah.
that might be a bit too
Too
much. Uh-huh.
Okay.
But at the same time, if you feel like that part is that experience is something that you actually want to talk about, then don't be afraid to just like substitute that out with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted it to be like of course, like I want it to be like a personal, like really like express who I am, but at the same time, like I want it to like also like all connect in a way to like make it stand out. So maybe I should keep the cancer because it like relates to like my grandma.
Yeah.
And then also to like becoming a pediatric oncologist,
yeah.
where like the medical missionship was just like a basic, like holistic,
Okay.
medical.
Okay.
It wasn't just dealing with cancer; it was dealing with like everything.
Okay. Well, did you have any like sort of leadership position on that trip, or did it make you realize you want to pursue a certain path or something like that?
I mean, okay, there was one moment. So we got to shadow a surgeon, and he was giving a C-section, which I've never seen anyone give birth. And me and like my best friend were the only ones that got chosen to like go into the emergency room and like do that. And I mean, I remember like seeing it, like actually seeing someone like cut someone in front of me and like, deliver a baby.
Yeah.
And like then sew everything up and like seeing like the baby like come out like out of her stomach and then like crying. It's just like that moment like I teared up.
Oh. Okay.
Because like it was just like so touching. I'm like, oh my god, like she just like that's like a new life. Like
Yeah.
it's so crazy. I mean, so that was like the most touching experience out of that like activity or that like thing. But so and I love it because like that's like when I did actually like it's like, oh wow, like this is like real. Like it's not like you always say you want to be a doctor, but like this is like real. Like they're actually cutting into her and like giving like birth to like a new person and like
Yeah. That is really cool.
and like I cried. me and my best friend, like when we heard the baby crying, we just started crying and tearing up like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, obviously like I can't like just choose for you. So I think a way that could help you decide between all of that is choose all the experiences that you want to write about and then just like go crazy and just like write out everything. And then don't worry about, I think you shouldn't, in your first few drafts, you shouldn't worry about your word limits yet. But just write out everything and then in the end look over like your takeaway, and then that's when you really start to like choose, is maybe the C-section is the one you actually want to talk about, because then while writing you realize that it's actually something that made more impact on you than maybe like summer stand, or you realize that summer stand is the one that you actually want to write about because it made you realize something else. So it's really hard to choose if you're just like thinking about it, right? So I would suggest like just writing it all out first. That could actually be easier than like editing as you go along and stuff like that.
I mean, I know like I definitely want to like include this, like the research on ovarian cancer, just because it connects to like everything that I've written so far.
Yeah.
And like summer stand, like the only reason like why I'm just including it is because like I want to share that like a pediatric oncologist where like the pediatric part come from. But at the same time, like I also want to like mention that experience, but I just don't know like how I would even like mention it when like the whole topic's about like cancer and like
well, that part I feel like that's also relevant when it comes to like why kids. Why do you want to work with kids? Because maybe because you saw like a new life just appear right before your eyes, and then you realize, wow, like, and then maybe that experience connecting with you working with like kids as they gradually like grow up made you realize, wow, that's such like a important stage of their lives, that's such like a vital stage. You want to make sure that this life keeps going, or things like that.
So maybe I should take out summer stand and put like the C-section birth, and that's what drove me to like love working with kids.
Yeah, actually maybe you can even connect those two, like because you saw like the beginning of that life, and then working with kids later on made you kind of be able to continue that journey.
Right. So like how important that those stages are. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe summer stand, or ISL. C-section. C-section birth.
Very strong wrap up of everything you said.
And also like another question, no time's running out. But so like okay, I know like I had these like activity essays, like all of these, and I know like a lot of like this ISL, it's like international service learning,
Right.
Like that's like a waste of like 3 words.
Uh-huh.
So like, do I have to put like international service learning with that kind of stuff?
What do you think they would know what you're talking about if you just put ISL?
I know, but it's just like so hard because they give us such a limited amount of space.
Maybe. Well, maybe the first time you introduce it, just call it international service learning, and then for the rest of the time you just refer to ISL. I think that's fine. Yeah, but I think you should at some point in there be able to like tell them
Because I know like the
stands for-
activity essays, like you put like on the application says the name of it, so like it say international service learning at the top, and then you put the essay in.
Oh, okay. Then I think it should be fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm scared. It's like so nerve-wracking. And does this finish at? I think it finished at 4:45.
Yeah. But but just like kind of going over everything we talked about. From the beginning, there's that thesis statement, and then honestly, the part where you should cut down the most is this part.
Okay.
You probably had to sacrifice some
Dramatic
Yeah.
family history.
Condense it into 2 at most 3 sentences, and then this part. I think this part where you talk about like how that affected you is more relevant, so that's good. And then connected. Okay, I think that's the part where you should cut down the most.
Okay.
And
then like here, like also like when I'm like editing it, like condensing it, making it more concise, and like I should be able to do that. I think I made an appointment for Monday.
Okay.
And I think it's with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think that like this weekend I'll like do all of this and like work like really hard on it, and then maybe like kind of have like a rough draft.
Yeah.
Because like after that I know like I need help with like the sentence structures and stuff like that.
Okay,
I'm
sure.
just horrible at that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's
I would say those sentences.
Let me save this before it deletes.
Okay.
You might be like,
Yeah. Don't worry. I think you're on a really good track right now, and you obviously have a lot to work off on. So.
Yeah, it's just like nerve-wracking because I was supposed to submit this like this week,
Oh, okay.
but like I have Arabic, which is like 40 hours a week,
Uh-huh.
and it just takes forever.
Okay.
But thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.